listening to the Pohhu Experience.
Yo, welcome to another episode of the Pohhu Experience. And yes, I know it's been a really long time. You know, the last episode was in March 2021, and I definitely owe all of you an explanation. You know, I don't think I ever talked about this in depth. I guess if you follow my Q&As, you know, you kind of have an idea where I've been, and it hasn't been the best of places. I tried to not completely disappear, right? So that's why the daily Q&As was still a thing that, you know, actually brought me a lot of comfort. And, you know, I want to say thanks. I want to say, you know, truly a thank you if you're listening to this and you've also been in and out with my daily Q&As, because it was basically therapeutic to me. It was therapy. Having every single day, no matter, you know, what goes on, whether there's highs and lows, I know that, you know, I can come back, chill out, just talk food, weight loss, things I'm passionate about with you guys, and that, you know, you guys are always here for me. Number one, thank you for being there. And number two, also thank you if you're listening to this podcast. It's been way too long. And well, it's time. It's time that we got back to a regular schedule. And so to cut to the chase, what happened, right? What happened between March 2021 and now? And the answer is a lot. To simplify it down to two words is I was burned out. And I think I was burned out for a multiple of reasons, and just everything kind of piled on at the same time. It just made my brain, you know, shut down, wanted a restart, and I just couldn't really keep up with the schedule that I had, which, remember, back then I was uploading daily videos. I was doing daily posts as well that has an article at the bottom. I was doing the Q&As. The Q&As was a thing too. And there was also other stuff I was juggling, like I was doing those pohhuexp episodes on YouTube, which is, you know, super short-lived, only 3 episodes. But, you know, a lot of things was going on. And even back then, I took a break from the podcast first because I just couldn't juggle all those things together. And then the next thing that happened was, you know, the daily videos also stopped, which I'll give you a fun little tidbit. So if you go check on IG, the last episode of the daily IGTV videos is episode 1206. I started doing IGTV the day IGTV was released. And so my episode 1 was day 1 of IGTV's existence. I actually have episode 1207 recorded and edited, all done to release, except when I tried to upload on that day, IG said, sorry, we're shutting down IGTV. You can only post this as a post. And back then it was because they were trying to push reels, but, you know, being in Taiwan, we're always a little bit slower getting IG updates. Didn't have reels yet. And I kind of just took that as like a mini sign excuse where, okay, maybe this is a sign telling me that I should take a break. And so that's when that stopped as well. While everything was a little bit stressful, like that's just the content part. And I was also being burned out with the personal stuff. And by personal stuff, I mean my own goals. I was struggling with my own goals. Long story short, you know, back then I had a powerlifting goal, right? I thought that, you know, I want to train powerlifting to a point where I can go compete. You know, I want to do well in competition. I don't necessarily have to, you know, be the number one powerlifter. I realize that's a lot of work. That's probably the time and effort that I'm not willing to put in, especially I enjoy creating content and all this. I know when you go pro athlete mode, you don't really have time for much else. And so all I wanted to do was to compete and, you know, be, you know, respectable, maybe top 50 out of 100, not top 50 out of 55. But, you know, that was a goal I was working toward. And I was improving. I was doing well. But as I got into, you know, heavier and heavier weights, I noticed that, oh man, I'm really playing on a fence here injury-wise, right? And there was a couple of close calls, like, you know, nothing detrimental, a little mess up with my form, and I could feel my lower back not taking it too well. A couple of incidences like that, I thought, you know what? I don't even really know if I want to chase powerlifting, because at the end of the day, my true goal was for health, and this is kind of becoming the opposite of that. If I do get injured, it just derails me out of a lot of things, right? I have to nurse the injury while, you know, still having a clear head, doing all the other stuff in life. And I thought, you know what? It's just not worth it. Every week, every month, when I'm able to pile on that extra few weights that I lift, or, you know, add an additional few reps or add a set, I feel like this feels like the ice is getting thinner and thinner. And you know, I train alone, and I prefer training alone, and I like having my own schedule. I like having the freedom of training whenever I want. That's why I have a home gym. But I got to a point where, you know, I just really had to reassess myself, and I felt that, you know what, maybe chasing powerlifting isn't a thing for me. And I struggled with that. I struggled with that because, you know, it was the thing I was chasing for quite a long time. While I was launching my whole IG channel, I did take 1 year break on working out because I just couldn't get the time. You know, back then, you know, my first IGTV video, it took me a good like 8 to 12 hours just to film, edit, and upload, simply because I knew nothing about video editing. I decided that the quickest way to learn would be to upload every day. And that's exactly what I did. And I did learn. By episode 600 or so, you know, I already had everything set up. All I had to do was press the record button on my camera, say what I want to say, take that SD card out, put it into the computer, Adobe Premiere, the program I use to edit videos, I have a template set up with exactly how I edit videos. Everything is done within 20 to 30 minutes at the most. But, not to derail, that powerlifting goal I had to give up. I switched to a bodybuilding goal. And not because, I want to become a bodybuilder, not because of anything, but I realized that for me, myself, I need a goal. I need something to chase. When working out or when doing anything, I always thought that I needed an end goal. And that's what would motivate me to keep going. And so I switched. I switched to a bodybuilding goal. And I also thought to myself, you know what? I go down this road, maybe, I can go get stage ready. Maybe it'll be fun aiming for a pro card or aiming for whatever. And this would be a really long-term thing, right? I'm not naive. I know that it's going to take years to get there. 5 to 10 year plan. This is not anything overnight. And so I set my goals there. And the more I dive into the bodybuilding world, I realized that, hey, obviously there's a lot of people that can make it there naturally. But the deeper and deeper I got into that world, I realized that, juicing up, steroids, it's a thing. It's kind of part of the process. It's kind of, the road you eventually have to take. I wasn't actually against it. I actually have nothing against steroids. It's just that there's so much side effects. I knew that I wasn't willing to take those side effects because ultimately my whole goal was health, right? My whole goal is I want to do this diet and fitness thing because I want to live longer. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to spend more time on earth. And going down the bodybuilding road, the more I go into it, the more I realize that this isn't the road for me because this is going against all my health goals. Not to mention, just trying to get stage ready, that whole process of dehydrating yourself, showing up on stage as dry as possible. It wasn't part of my grand plan. A part of me was very naive, right? A part of me felt like, what? If I just work hard and ignore the steroids, I bet I could work harder than everybody else and I'll do this completely natural. That was a fire in me, right? Whether that would come true or not, whatever. It was a fire in me that I kept stroking. I kept believing that I could get to a respectable level without juice at all. And because here's the thing, right? The conversation around steroids just was very, very quiet until the past 2 years. Past 2 years, a couple of professionals in the field, they started to be more outspoken about it and started to talk about all the nuances. Like, I have a lot of friends in the fitness world and I know they're using, but I know they don't want to talk about it either. So I don't really have anybody to bounce these ideas off of without really crossing a line, which is a line I don't really want to cross, if that makes sense, right? But either way, as more and more content came out about steroids, and I learned a lot from like RP Strength, from like Dr. Mike, Jared Feather, Charlie Jung. They openly talk about, that they're using and, what are the side effects, what is achievable with, what is achievable without. And the more I got to understand that, I realized that, man, I'm just naive. I really thought I could get to that level without the juice. I'm really just kidding myself, right? And so that was maybe I wouldn't say the final straw, but that was a huge oh fuck, dude. Now what? What are my goals now? I felt so lost. I didn't know what to chase. Content-wise, I wasn't chasing numbers, right? Because it got to a point where I feel really bad that I'm unable to answer every email and every DM when in the past, before pre 10,000 followers, I still could. I can still recall everybody's names, their profile pictures, they still look familiar. But nowadays, it's I have so many messages I can't answer. What's the point of getting more followers? It's that number I'm not doing it for the numbers. I'm doing it because I hope I can help as many people as possible. And I feel that I'm getting to a point where I want to maintain and have a deeper connection with our current community rather than make the community even bigger, right? Of course, I welcome everyone new that comes. Please don't take this the wrong way if you're listening to this for the first time and you just joined us a couple of days or a couple of months ago. It's totally welcome and totally welcome to, ask me questions on the Q&As or, slide into my DMs or email me. That's totally fine. I still try my best to answer as many people as I can. It's just as a content creator, as, somebody that's running a channel, I no longer focus on numbers. I don't really care how many views, likes, or followers there are. I just hope that every time I make something that it's helpful in some way, whether helpful as in giving you information or helpful as in lightening up your mood, maybe get you to laugh a little, or, whatever it is. That's my main goal now. My main goal now with the channel is to go deeper rather than go wider. And so, back to the whole burnout things, I didn't really have a clear goal with my channel. I didn't really have a clear goal with my own personal goals. And I was just and it just felt like I was just lost in life. I just didn't didn't know what I was doing, what I was aiming for. What is this all for? It's almost like some kind of midlife crisis, but I don't think it's there yet. I think if I'm going to have a midlife crisis, that's to come. That's another whole can of worms I don't want to open now. But either way, there was a period of time during this break where, I didn't work out at all. I still counted my calories because it's just a habit of mine. I was trying to maintain my weight, but I didn't really care if I gained a little or lost a little. All was just kind of meh to me. And so I decided just to take a break. I basically told myself, take as long as I need to, get back into it. And if I don't get back into it, I guess I had to accept that too. And I wasn't ready to accept that, thus the break. And so that was a big reason why you saw, from daily videos, daily posts, daily Q&As, it went all the way down to just the Q&As. And then slowly the weekly emails started up, and it was something I was very passionate about too, because for a while, perhaps I didn't know in that moment, but, doing the daily post became more routine than passion. It was just like, I have a quota to hit today, better hit the quota. Whereas the weekly emails is still a quota, but what I love about it so much is if you've read those weekly letters, I hope you felt it from me, is I felt that I could really just be me. I could write in a way that's no limits. The IG captions has a character limit. For whatever reason, I felt like in the captions and IG, I can't go too deep. It might confuse those that are new to the channel. Whereas, if you're on my email list, chances are you have a pretty good idea all the basic stuff that we talk about on a regular basis. And I could just go a little bit deeper than that. And so I kind of, over the years, just built everything up from scratch. I wasn't working out. Oh, but one thing that I did though, even though I wasn't working out, I was walking 30 minutes every single day. That was like my bare minimum. It's like, okay, fine. You're in a rut, you're down, you're at a low, you don't know what to do with life. At least get 30 minutes of walking. And, I got that walking treadmill at home. So it was easy. It was no excuses. I didn't have to go anywhere. I have it right there at home. I made myself walk 30 minutes every single day. It's a pace where I can talk. It's a pace where I can have a conversation. It's a pace where I could even, do work on my phone. It was just chill, but I had to do that 30 minutes every single day. So I did that. I slowly tried to build myself back up. Slowly, I tried to get a diet goal going because when I started the break, I was at the end of a bulk. Now I'm actually heavier than I want to be, but doing the whole burnout, it just, I couldn't find a reason to cut back down. I'm still in a healthy range. I'm still fine. Like, why do this? What's the point? It was a lot of that. It was a lot of that going out in a burnout. But, over time, I think it was a good 6 months. It was a good 6 months of like doing nothing, just walking 30 minutes every day. That was the minimum quota. I was introduced to David Goggins. I think his whole story helped a lot. And I'll go into that in another episode. I think that deserves a whole episode because he definitely, I always thought he was just this hardcore dude that just like, come on, man, if you don't do this, you're just a bitch. And I thought, man, this guy's intense. But I read his book, listening to his whole story, I realized, that there's a lot more to it than all that screaming and all that, like, man, you gotta get off your ass, what are you doing? His stuff kind of, I don't know why, maybe it was right place, right time. His story really did help. I just started rebuilding. I made a new training program for myself, and this time my goal is just longevity, right? Everything I'm doing now, like before, I'm chasing goals, right? I'm chasing a powerlifting goal, I'm chasing a bodybuilding goal, bulk cut, and now it's like, no, I don't have any of those goals. I have a longevity goal. I just want to make sure that lifting is a part of my life forever because, for health reasons, muscles are a great bonus, looking good's a great bonus, but really it's for health. And diet wise, the same thing. I haven't cut off the excess fat from the previous bulk, got to cut that off and basically just maintain. That's where my head is at. Through last year that I could see myself, for every single week, I didn't miss a single week with the weekly letters. Q&As were going every single day as well. I saw that the burnout is starting to burn out itself too. It's like, I'm starting to smell things. I'm starting to get feeling back. I guess that's how some people would describe it. That is also the reason why the podcast is back. I feel like I'm ready for the next step. And I feel, 2023, number one goal, I want this podcast to do the same as the weekly letters. Every week, there's going to be a new episode. We talk about different things, maybe even straying a little bit away from fitness and nutrition, talk about other stuff I myself am passionate about, and really just a chance to chat with all of you to go even more in depth than the letters go. And so, like I've said in the beginning, like if you're listening to this right now, I really want to give you a very sincere thank you. Thank you for sticking around all this time. It means more than the world to me that, I have somewhere to come back to, that, after a low, after a little break, that, I have a community, I have a home to come back to, and you're here listening to it. I don't know how to describe it in words. I just really want to say thank you. It means a lot. This is definitely not the end. It's a new start. And this time I'm much clearer with my goals and I'm in a much better headspace that, we're going to keep going. This is for life. This is my commitment, my dedication to you guys and to my passion of fitness, health, nutrition, weight loss, all these things together. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you so, so much. And so sum it all up, what do you expect on these weekly episodes? You can expect still, fitness, nutrition stuff, of course. But we'll talk about other stuff that I've been paying attention to, like world events, MMA, UFC. That's the one sport I follow quite closely because I'm quite interested in everybody's story. It really draws me in. Or, maybe about content creation, the influencer world, what drama's going on here and there. Which brings us to the next thing I want to talk about, which is Liver King. I wanted to do this episode when the news first popped about Liver King, but I wasn't ready. There's a lot of things I wanted to put in place. I wanted to organize first before I officially came back to the podcast. And that was a good thing, actually, because there was a lot of development with the Liver King news over, I think, 3 or 4 weeks when it first broke. And it kind of coincided with, the reason of my burnout, right? Realizing that, hey, steroids is part of the equation, whether you like it or not. The choice is, do you choose it or do you not? But anyway, let me start from the beginning, right? So Liver King is this guy that, just came out of nowhere, right? Back in, I think, either 2021 or 2022, he had 40K followers. And by the end of that year, he had like 4 million followers. Like he totally blew up. And it was kind of hard to miss the guy. I didn't really pay attention to him, but I knew this guy existed because he just kept popping up in my YouTube recommended, or, if you're watching shorts or TikTok, like this guy was there. It was just easy to kind of spot him because he was always topless. He looked like in tremendous shape. He had a very unique look to him and was very loud. It was very loud about pushing his way of life. He's all about, eating raw liver, eating, raw this, raw that for health. The thing that he pushed is called like the ancestral lifestyle. Like we should be living the way our, the cavemen, our ancestors live. There's 9 ancestral tenets for healthy living. He pushes all 9 of those. Like there's special names for each one. But, if you really dig into it, well, it's the basic stuff, right? Like eat well, sleep well, train hard, play hard, be positive. It's not a bad message. It's packaged in a different way and he goes really hard on it. And perhaps I guess the gimmick is, eating raw liver, raw testicles and all this stuff, they boost your health. And if those things irk you out, it's okay. Liver King also runs a supplement company which, sells liver extract or whatever extract to help boost your health. So, it was this whole thing. It was like a very, very elaborated marketing scheme. Nutrition-wise, you could basically categorize him as just like hardcore paleo, right? All natural, nothing processed. Like that was basically it. And so where did the controversy come in? The controversy was that, this guy was putting himself out there. He was on Logan Paul's podcast. He was on a lot of, very popular podcasts, and every time anybody asked him, like, dude, so are you natural? And he was like, yep. All natural, 40 years of training. He'll always say he's natural and never taken a steroid in his life. I mean, it's exact words like never touch that thing. And, in the bodybuilding world, there's a lot of times you see somebody and you're like, no shot. You're not taking anything, but I also don't have any proof. And the steroid world is so hush-hush that there's a possibility that he's not on it, kind of, and you want to give the person a benefit of a doubt, especially if you straight up asked that to his face and he told you, no, I'm not taking it. Not at all. So he did that. Like all the proof's out there. You could find it all on YouTube. And so what happened about like a month ago was this channel called More Plates, More Dates. The host, Derek, he made a video which contained leaked emails of Liver King asking for help on his steroid cycle with another coach. And it was kind of like undeniable evidence, right? So all this time, Liver King, aka Brian Johnson, telling the world that he's not on steroids, but he is on a fuck ton of steroids. He was spending something like $13K US dollars on steroids alone every month. Imagine that, every month. This was a guy that came out to everybody, to the world. Like his message wasn't bad, right? His message wasn't bad. Eat well, train hard, sleep well, drink well, whatever, all natural. That's all fine. Like you're pushing your own system, your own agenda, but it's actually for the good of the world. I think that's all fine. But then when you kind of tell people, yeah, I'm natural, you're kind of putting out the message where, yeah, you do all these things I'm doing, or you take my supplements, you'll look like me. And the thing that he decided to not share was, oh yeah, you got to take this stack of steroids to actually look like me, or else, your hard work is just, no, it's not possible? It was just kind of baffling when you got the leaked emails, because this guy was just like, you couldn't weasel your way out of this, man. You've been on so many, like, multiple big podcasts, and all the receipts are there. You claim that you're 100% natural, and now this email comes out. You're just completely juiced up. And basically, I guess this is also the definition of a charlatan. A charlatan is, by definition, a malicious trickster, a fake person, especially one who deceives for personal profit. And unfortunately, the fitness industry is filled with them. But I guess this was one of the more high-profile ones. It sparked a lot of interest. I was following this whole arc, this whole drama very, very closely when it first broke. I was like, man, this is so crazy. What's he going to do next? And so here is what he did next. He actually made an apology video. And the apology video is, I guess kind of textbook YouTuber apology video, except he kind of missed some spots, and it just, something didn't feel right. It didn't really feel like an apology video. It's more like just an explanation of why I did it. Because at the end of the day, remember this, he profited a lot from telling people that he's natural, because he runs a supplement company. He doesn't exactly directly say it like, take my supplements, you'll look like me, but he does say, follow me and you'll look like me, but he doesn't talk about the steroids. It's very, very, very sneaky kind of thing, right? The part that really baffled me in the apology video is he starts out with, I think these are his exact words: before social media, I was rich and anonymous. And after social media, I'm still rich, but no longer anonymous. And I was like, motherfucker, how is that how you started the apology video? It's like, if I was his PR guy and we had to come up with something as an apology video, that's definitely not the first thing I'd say. So I kind of found it funny. There was a huge backlash to his apology video. Like, apparently after this broke, he reached out to a lot of podcasts hoping to be able to go on and explain himself in more detail. I think Joe Rogan was talking about it. Well, not one of, but the biggest podcaster out there. Joe was like saying, like, look, he asked me and I'm not going to have him on. It's like, I don't want anything to do with it. Like, you just scam people. And then a week after that, Liver King was on Andrew Schultz's podcast. And I found that very interesting. I was like, oh, somebody's willing to hear his side of the story. And, Andrew Schultz, being a comedian, he didn't back down. He took all the shots, he made fun of everything right there in his face. And to Liver King's credit, he took it all. He took it all with kind of grace. He didn't make excuses. He took the jokes like a champ, and he explained what brought him to kind of lie to everybody. And his explanation was that he thought he wasn't harming anybody, so it's okay. In a sense of, he's taking steroids, but he's not competing. He's not cheating in a sport. He's not like, fighting in MMA, where if you're taking PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, those drugs are helping you beat the shit out of another guy, and you could give him like lasting damage for life. Like Liver King said, I thought I wasn't harming anybody, so I thought it was okay. And that was never the conversation I wanted to have. Meaning, he's trying to push his 9 ancestral tenets. He's trying to get you to live a healthier life. Like, what does that have to do with his steroid use, right? That has nothing to do with each other. He wants to talk about how to live a healthy life and not steroids. So he thought it should be okay just to kind of lie about it. And he expressed regret. He talked about his backstory. He was an insecure child. He was bullied quite hard growing up. And when he first started working out, it made him feel strong. It made him feel like he finally could stand on his 2 feet. The reason for the 9 tenets was actually because his son was ill, really ill, went to a lot of doctors. Apparently, Liver King was, like he said, before social media, I was rich and anonymous. And after social media, I'm still rich, but no longer anonymous. So back then, son was sick. He took his son to all the great doctors. None of them kind of had a solution, which he started to do his own research and decided to try this kind of hardcore paleo lifestyle. And it worked. His son was healed. And now that his son was healed, he felt, man, I want to share this with the world. And I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's sweet. That's like, you found something that you deemed as good and you really want to share it with the world. I think there's nothing wrong with that. I guess watching the whole podcast, listening to the whole, Andrew Schultz's podcast, you kind of get Liver King's side on why he did it. And technically he didn't harm anybody, but he really did mislead a lot of people. While I don't hate the guy, like, I don't think he's scum. I don't think, like, there's a lot of fitness people out there that are much worse. At least the things he's pushing isn't some crazy thing like, detox, starve yourself for 7 days or whatever. I think the 9 tenets are fine. If that's the thing you want to follow for a healthy lifestyle, sure, go ahead. Or you could just do the basic things, which is also kind of the same. Either way, I just felt what he did was really scummy, and it's going to take a lot for him to come back from this. And apparently now he's like going through a lot of lawsuits, which, you know, I could imagine. Like you basically falsely advertise your product, but that comes with the whole situation. And on Andrew Schultz's podcast, Liver King said, you know, he's willing to from now on go natural. Of course, that doesn't mean that he just gets off steroids right away. Like there's a way to slowly ease off of steroids, which will be really interesting, because once he's off steroids, he's not going to look the way he's going to look. It's going to look a lot more like average Joe. I guess let's see how he does from here. I guess comparing what he did to like crypto scams, crypto rug pulls, I guess it's less worse, but that's kind of like comparing the lesser of two evils. But in any case, you know, that was a story I really wanted to share, as I was kind of invested in it. And it kind of, the whole steroid thing was also a big part of my burnout. So maybe that's why I felt like a strong need to follow it and finally get some kind of conclusion on it. And so that wraps up this new episode. You know, this would be season 6 of this podcast, and I hope this is the last season, right? And the last season meaning this one goes on forever. I've been breaking down my podcast seasons into like all the breaks that I've taken in between, or the different directions I've been taking it. And I really do feel, I think this time my head's in the right place. I think my head's been in all kinds of places in the past few years. And I think right now I'm the healthiest I've ever been mentally and can see the clearer picture. So hopefully this is the final and everlasting season. And so again, you know, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. And if you love these stories, or there's stories that you want me to cover, you know, feel free to email me, DM me, you know, tell me on the Q&As. I'm still accessible. If I miss your message, please know that it's not because I'm deliberately missing your message. It's just, there's a lot of messages that I just don't have the time to go through. There are a lot of messages that I just really can't see. And apparently IG has this weird thing where I get messages late sometimes because of how messed up my inbox is. Like I still have unread messages from 2019, and it only appeared now. Like I didn't see it back in 2019. Back then, it was a lot more possible for me to see every message. So I don't know what's going on with my IG inbox. Easiest way to reach me would be email, and then would be the Q&As, and then would be the DMs. And if we've DM'd back and forth before, that shouldn't be a problem. If you're someone new trying to DM me, that's when IG's, I don't know, their whole new algorithm thing about how DMs work is kind of odd. But yeah, I'm excited that this is a thing now. I'm excited. Finally, podcast is back. I won't be making videos for now. Like probably that's the next step, right? Once the podcast gets to a really comfy position, just like the weekly letters are, then, you know, maybe I'll consider, you know, getting back on camera. Here's a little tidbit about me that I realized over these years. You know, I have severe anxiety and I'm severely uncomfortable in front of the camera, even though I was basically on camera for over 1,000 times every single day for 3+ years. It's just, there's something nerve-wracking for me. So, you know, this time, so if you're listening to this on like Spotify or any podcast platform, obviously you can't see me, but you know, this will also be on my YouTube, but the YouTube is kind of like Lo-Fi Girl animated GIF. If you go check it out and you go see it, it's my actual workplace. Well, like a replica of it, not 100%, but like 90%. It's what my desk looks like when I'm working on a regular basis, whether it's recording this podcast or making videos, editing videos. And I'll slowly transition, maybe when I get more comfortable, to start showing more face, I guess. So anyways, that is it. That's the end of this episode. I'll see you next week. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you very, very soon. Peace.